I am Rashi Vats, and we are continuing to follow breaking news happening out of Utah. Now, we do understand Charlie Kirk, the powerful right-wing activist, also Trump ally, has been shot. According to bystanders, there's been video out there circulating as well. We do understand that the suspect is in custody. Now, this happened over at the Utah Valley University courtyard. There was some sort of question and answer going on with students there. There were thousands of students at that campus at the time. It is under lockdown at this time, and we are continuing our coverage, breaking into Fox Local and Fox News to see what they are saying. Take a listen.
Point investigation, and then this could very well turn into be a federal and FBI-led investigation.
Scott, one question I thought about here, when you're talking about an event like this that is attended by so many people, we've seen all of the videos that are circulating on social media very quickly, but you have gunshots. A lot of people take off running, so you don't have as many witnesses that are sticking around. Does that make it difficult at all for investigators to track down certain witnesses? Does that matter at this point?
Yeah, and that's where I would say the FBI is able to offer additional assistance so they can set up a tip line. Ultimately, what is the job of law enforcement is to get in and secure the scene, neutralize the threat. Once that threat has been neutralized, it is now an investigation. And of course, dealing with any injuries other than that of Charlie Kirk being rushed to the hospital. Who else on that ground is injured, has some sort of evidence of blood and so forth, falling, whatever it may be. And so thereby, people do what they are trained to do: get out of that situation, save your life, and get as far away as possible. Then once that is considered, hey, it's secure and no additional threat remains, then law enforcement wants to speak to those people who are ideal witnesses, who might have been able filming with their phone, and so have pieces of evidence captured on camera that might not otherwise have been captured by anything that is on campus. And so this is where the FBI, through their tip lines, can say, hey, if you were there, we would love to have your camera footage. We would love to speak with you. And so thereby, it's going to kind of backtrack, getting everybody that they can that will volunteer return back to the scene. If not back to the scene, definitely setting up interviews with the FBI and local law enforcement at a soon but later date.
And for folks who are just joining us, we do want to kind of reset here and go over all of the details of what we know, because if you're just joining us, essentially you just know that Charlie Kirk has been shot. I do want to go over the details of what we know so far coming in from Fox News and other sources here, as Charlie Kirk, who is known as the conservative activist and founder of Turning Point, shot there, and the suspect is in custody. This all happening here at Utah Valley University, and they have released some very limited information. The Associated Press actually just putting out here seconds ago via sources that it appears that Charlie Kirk is listed there in critical condition after being shot at that event. Again, the Associated Press just putting that out. Now, according to Kirk's spokesperson, a very brief statement was released over to Fox News saying, quote, Charlie Kirk has been shot at Utah Valley University, condition unknown. Again, the Associated Press here just reporting he is in critical condition. Video posted from that event appeared to show Kirk being shot as he spoke to the crowd from under a white pop-up tent. And in those videos, after the shots fire, the crowd runs away and onlookers there are heard screaming, run, run, run. Now, in a statement to Fox News, the Associate Vice President of Strategic Communication Management at Utah Valley University said the shooting happened sometime around 12:20 p.m. local time. So we're talking here maybe an hour and a half ago at this point. A lot of the information still developing, and we're getting reaction coming in from a lot of folks there. The statement that came in from the school said, quote, we had a speaker, Charlie Kirk, Kirk, who was invited by a student group, Turning Point USA, who was speaking on campus today at noon. At about 12:20, shots were fired from a building about 200 yards from the speaker. To the best of our knowledge, the individual was hit and taken away immediately by his security personnel. The campus right now is going to be closed for the rest of the day, and campus police do have a suspect in custody. And while there's a lot of information floating around on social media, we want to make sure that we get the information from police specifically about who this suspect is, because that's something that you always see happen. You see, after an incident like this, people start circulating the information and say, this is who the shooter is, this is their photo, and then it turns out not to be true. So we want to make sure that we're in touch with police before we mention anything about this suspected shooter other than the fact that they are in custody.
Absolutely. And so our thanks to Josh Breslow for wrapping all of that up for us nicely, as well as Scott Duffy, a former FBI agent, giving us his insight on what he knows about such an active investigation. Scott, we appreciate your time as always. You've always been great when it comes to these breaking news incidents as that information just comes into our newsroom.
Yeah, thank you, Christina and Josh. Thank you very much.
All right, so we do want to continue to showcase some of the other video that we have here as well from the scene. Also want to make sure that folks know that we're going to be continuing to stay in non-stop coverage of this event as those details are still coming out. I mean, this is a very tragic situation that's unfolding. You can see the amount of response there from law enforcement and others in the community as they're talking here too. So what I want to do now is that we heard from just about 20, well, that's actually right now live. We have some witnesses now speaking with Fox 13 there in Utah. Let's listen in.
Crack because of my past experience in law enforcement. I knew it was a gun, and then I tucked behind the corner and all the crowd started racing out. And after I saw the picture of who it was, I recognized him as to be George Zim, which I know him from Turning Point USA from last year when we went down and bused down to Arizona to help on the Trump campaign.
So he was on the trip with you?
Yes, on the bus.
And that's the person you say you saw taken into custody?
That's what it appeared to be. From a distance, it appeared to be him, which I had some bad vibes about him when I was on the bus with him, and even text several people saying that he was making me feel very uncomfortable.
You, sir, what did you see?
Okay, yeah, I was there and I watched the shooting. It looked like that he got hit. A direct shot right to the heart. As soon as he was hit, he fell backwards, went to the side. The audience went to their knees. I stayed up a little bit because I wanted to see if anyone saw the shooting, if they would jump all over the guy. I saw nothing like that. The crowd was pushing me so that I went backstage, and they were going around me, and I stayed a little bit backstage, and I turned and looked, and they were arresting a guy by the name of George Zim. Yeah, I know the guy. I don't think he did it. I think they arrested the wrong guy. I think whoever did it was a good shooter, a sharp shooter. It was one shot right directly to the heart, and we need to find out who did this. I think there should be a research completely done that took place hours, maybe a day before anything went on. Who could be there and pull that trigger and do it? And I don't think it was George Zim. He was poor, broke. He maybe was on medication, a little bit loony boon, maybe a perfect person to pick and say that did it, but I don't think he did it at all.
So at this point, but did you see him taken into custody? Did you see him with any kind of thing in his hand, any device in his hand or anything like that?
Yeah, I saw when they actually put the handcuffs behind his back. I followed him when they took him to the trooper car when he was kneeling down, and I was just thinking he was very calm, very, whatever they wanted to do, he just went right along with whatever they're doing.
But you didn't see anything in his hand or anything like that, did you?
No, I did not.
Gotcha. What was the crowd's reaction when this happened? Can you just describe what happened? You said you were just walking into the area, and then this happened.
Well, when I knew it was a gunshot tucked behind the corner, and then I saw all the crowd running as fast as I could, and I was worried about people trampling each other. And I saw two college-age girls one was having a panic attack. So I grabbed both of them because she was collapsing and rushed her down underneath the tunnel and got her to calm down, then put her in my car and got her hold of her parents. So
I think it's very suspect that he was talking about guns right when he was shot. That just didn't add up. It's almost felt like that the person that was asking the questions about gun knew it was going to happen. And I hope they grab him too and question him.
Thank you both very much, and we'll send it back to you.
All right, as you see there, just wanted to get some of that reaction from those witnesses there. I do want to preface, though, as we were just listening in there, we heard one of the men, one of those witnesses, he was very fired up and passionate about what he believes he saw. He named names. We're not doing that here on Live Now from Fox. Not yet. We need to have some of this information fully vetted by all of those sources before we report on anything. And ultimately, he was saying he didn't think they arrested the right guy. Again, that's not coming from any of those officials. And here on Live Now, we will wait until we get official confirmation before we report that. And so I want to bring back into the conversation here my colleague Josh Breslow. Josh, I know we've been talking here with some of our experts. We're going to continue to do the same. We're getting the next one set up here behind the scenes. He was a special agent, a former special agent, so should be able to provide some good context for us as we're having this conversation. I mean, what we now know, Josh, is that Charlie Kirk was attending this event at Utah Valley University. He was on stage underneath a white tent when he was shot. And so you were talking about some of those updates that we also got there from the Associated Press. So we'll continue to take a look here at this shot outside of the hospital where Charlie Kirk has been taken. Again, we have this from the Associated Press, and then Josh will continue to give us those details as this is now being reported. But again, Associated Press saying Charlie Kirk is in critical condition at the hospital after being shot at Utah Valley University. This is according to an AP source.
Known as a conservative voice. He is young, 31 years old, and is the CEO there of Turning Point USA. Again, he's known on the conservative circuit there. So you do have a lot of reaction that's coming in instantly from people like Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia saying Charlie Kirk has been shot, pray for him. You also have President Trump, who has posted something similar, Vice President J.D. Vance, but also want to note that you have folks on both sides of the aisle that are showing their concern. They're asking for prayers there for Charlie. That includes Gavin Newsom, the governor there over in California. So again, this transcends party lines as you have folks there that are asking for prayers. They're putting their thoughts out there. They want to make sure that Charlie is okay. Again, we do have this post here from the Associated Press that you're looking at, as they are now officially reporting that Charlie Kirk is listed there at the hospital in critical condition. We know that a suspect is in custody. However, we do not know that person's name. We do not know anything about them. You've heard some of that witness sound that we did play for you. Again, we play those feeds raw and unfiltered. So sometimes you hear things that are not confirmed by police. And at this point, I do want to point out that none of the information about the suspect is confirmed from law enforcement. And that is where we're making sure to take our information from. And it's also important to note, as I mentioned here, that we are getting reaction from both sides of the aisle. That includes Zoran Mamdani, who is a Democrat, but is expected, really polling right here, to possibly be the next mayor of New York City. He posted on social media saying, "I'm horrified by the shooting of Charlie Kirk at a college event in Utah. Political violence has no place in our country." Also, J.D. Vance, as I mentioned, saying, "Say a prayer for Charlie Kirk, a genuinely good guy and a young father." And you can see some of the video there on your screen. Alex Michelson, who previously worked at Fox 11 LA, has done several one-on-one interviews with Charlie. And these are from some of the events with Turning Point that you've seen right here on Live Now from Fox with some big conservative names, including Vice President Vance and President Trump.
Absolutely. And thanks to Josh Breslow again for continuing to break down the very latest as it's coming into our newsroom. And so we do want to continue on with our coverage here on Live Now from Fox. And it does appear that we do have yet another witness stepping up to make some remarks. Let's actually listen in there. Pivot, like Josh said, we like to bring these to you live, raw, and unfiltered. Let's listen in.
45.
Hold on to that for me. Maybe take a good step to your left just to get you in the sun. Come over here a little bit more. There you go. You can look right at me. Try to ignore this camera. Let me make sure I've got your mic turned up. That would help.
And so as you can see, he's speaking to this witness before he's able to talk to him and get his answers. But I just want to make sure that we're able to hear all of those vantage points here as this is coming in. Let's continue to listen here.
There, I was watching him. I was probably about, if you look at the stage and you look at about maybe 3 o'clock or
Good afternoon to you. I'm Caroline Collins. Thanks for joining us on Houston Live and Local. We are continuing to cover some devastating news. Political activist and conservative activist Charlie Kirk has been shot in Utah at a university that he was speaking at. Now, if you don't know who he is a very widely followed political activist with 7 million followers on Instagram alone. We want to get right to our Fox News Channel coverage. They'll pick it up from there.
What I'm hearing, if it's true, the guy who got shot, he was a pretty big influence in whatever was going, like their agenda, right? So I don't know. I hope it all gets figured out, and I really don't want this to happen again.
Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz was at that event in Utah, and he joins us now. Jason, thanks for doing what you've been doing all day today, which is sharing your experience for the last couple of hours. I'm going to have to ask you to do it once again. Tell me about your day and what you saw in Utah.
I mean, we were all excited. Charlie Kirk was showing up. You know, Utah Valley University, it's our state's largest university, 40,000 students. Our daughter and son-in-law were so excited to go. So I went, they went. My wife was coming to it. It was, you know, Charlie puts on a unique event. There were about 2,000 people, if I had to guess. I was there earlier. I had traded text messages with Charlie Kirk. Excited that he was coming, hoping to see him beforehand. Thought maybe we could see him afterwards because, you know, he's got his hands full of things he's got to do. He started right on time at noon, came out, started throwing hats out in the crowd. Everybody was cheering and yelling. First person, as Charlie does, people come up to a microphone really close and they ask a question. And he got into a dialogue about religion. And Charlie went out of his way to say, look, you know, we're predominantly LDS, or members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, if you will. And he said, look, I'm not here to argue religion. I'm here to talk to you about your spiritual journey. We may disagree on some things, but I believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe he's our Savior. And the crowd loved that. I mean, he really relates to members of my church that are there in that community. Then the second question came up, and the second person, about 20 minutes after the hour, came up and he started to ask a question about, do you know, Charlie, how many, and I'm paraphrasing, how many people are killed in mass shootings by transgenders and people that are engaged in transgender? And as that dialogue started, one shot, I was watching Charlie. In this video that you're seeing, I'm kind of off to Charlie's right, up on that second balcony. And I could see Charlie immediately fall back into his left. And the crowd hit the ground and started screaming, and then people started running. My focus turned to my family and making sure they're okay. But it was obvious that Charlie wasn't. And the crowd scattered, and now we're in prayer, praying that some miracle will happen and that Charlie and his family somehow, some way will be okay.
Yeah, we share in those prayers, Jason. From your vantage point, what were you able to see? There are videos circulating on social media, and many people have been able to see what looks like horrific details of exactly what went down. From your vantage point, what were you able to see, and how did you know or have some suspicion about the condition of Charlie?
Because he immediately fell back. He immediately, you know, he kind of went like this and immediately fell backwards. The proximity to that gunshot. And look, I've been around a lot of guns, not as many as some others, but probably more than your average person. And just one shot. But it seemed to me, and again, I was there, and the university's putting out something that says to the contrary. I don't think those buildings are 200 yards away. I think they're even closer than that. Most of those windows don't even open. So again, I'm not trying to create some sort of conspiracy here. I can just tell you that from my vantage point, hearing what I heard, and the acoustics are different, right? In an arena that has a lot of cement around it, it seemed to me like the shot was a lot closer than that. It just seemed like it was, maybe it was a long distance, it could have been a higher caliber, rifle from a further distance, but the time span between the shot and Charlie going down was just almost instantaneous, and then everybody started scattering. There was a bit of panic, as you might imagine, and I left to go check on my family, and they were immediately tending to Charlie.
Were you able to see, Jason, how quickly they were capable of getting Charlie out of the scene, perhaps on his way to the hospital? How quickly did he receive medical attention?
It seemed like it was very quick given the circumstances, but remember, he's under an awning. If you go under the awning, back where he came from, it looks like that's where his vehicle came in so he could walk in. In fact, when he was coming into the arena, you could see it in that shot. See back behind there, the blue, that's how he walked in, and that's how they walk out, but it's totally covered. The crowd was such that there were people that were gathered above Charlie, and the police had moved them back to the sides. But this is probably 95% student age, younger than 30 years old. There were some people in the community like me that were there because it was Charlie Kirk and it was Turning Point. We wanted to see it. But mostly it was college age people that were there. And the beauty of what Charlie does is he lets anybody, no matter where you are in the political spectrum, come up, let's have a discussion. There's nothing more American than that. And so to have this happen, I'm still in shock that we're having this discussion. Well,
I am as well, Jason. It is, sad and poetic illustration that Charlie standing under an awning that reads, "Prove me wrong," taking on all comers who wants to have a dialogue with him, as he's done on college campus after college campus in front of thousands. And the only rebuttal that someone seems to be able to muster is a gunshot. Jason, I know it's been a tough day, and it will continue to be perhaps for many of us, and we thank you for all the time that you're giving to us and sharing your experience there in Utah.
Thanks, Will.
All right, let's go now to Jonathan Hunt with more details and reaction on the shooting. Jonathan?
Yeah, well, it's an extraordinary scene that we have watched video of right now. We are not airing the moment of the gunshot for obvious reasons, but I can tell you it is deeply disturbing as you watch it. Charlie Kirk sitting under that small tent that we saw on the campus there of Utah Valley University. He is sitting under there when you hear a single shot, which clearly, from those of us who have some familiarity with weapons, sounds like a high-powered rifle. The university saying it was shot from around 200 yards, as you heard Jason Chaffetz there saying he thought it was closer than that. Some of the buildings, which are 2 or 3 stories high, surrounding the area around a sort of amphitheater there, and the tent on one side of that amphitheater looked to be more like 50 to 100 yards away, but those details will come out. We all have also seen video of someone apparently on the campus being arrested. We do not know, obviously, at that point if the video that we have seen is the shooter. I can tell you that the person who was being led away by police was an elderly gentleman, looked to me to be in his 60s. Again, we have no idea at this point, no official confirmation that that is indeed the alleged shooter, but clearly Charlie Kirk was hit directly by that single shot, and we're now getting a line for Charlie Kirk from House Speaker Johnson. Please join us in praying for our good friend Charlie Kirk. From Steve Scalise, please join me in praying for Charlie Kirk after this senseless act. DNC Chair Ken Martin writes, "I'm horrified by the news coming out of Utah about the attack on Charlie Kirk. Political violence has no place in our country, not now and not ever. Praying for him and his family." Here in California, Governor Gavin Gavin Newsom saying, quote, "The attack on Charlie Kirk is disgusting, vile, and reprehensible. In the United States of America, we must reject political violence in every form." And from former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, quote, "The horrific shooting today at Utah Valley University is reprehensible. Political violence has absolutely no place in our nation. All Americans should pray for Charlie Kirk's recovery and hold the entire UVU community in our hearts as they endure the trauma of this gun violence." And from former Vice President Kamala Harris, quote, "I am deeply disturbed by the shooting in Utah. Doug and I send our prayers to Charlie Kirk and his family. Let me be clear, political violence has no place in America. I condemn this act, and we all must work together to ensure this does not lead to more violence." Also speaking out, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, whose wife Gabby Giffords was shot at a political event in 2011. Listen here.
I mean, it's just another horrible act of political violence that has no place in our country. I mean, it's just kind of a loss of words. It is, a horrendous thing to see, and it happens all too often. I'm thinking about him and his, family, and, I hope, that he makes a recovery from this.
I think, Charlie, Will, that Mark Kelly there, Senator Kelly, speaks for all of us when he says, with regard to what has happened to Charlie Kirk, that we are all at a loss for words today. An extraordinary act of political violence, Will, and we wait to hear more, obviously, about Charlie Kirk's condition. Will?
All right. Thank you for that report, Jonathan. In addition to those politicians, almost every conservative influencer that you can imagine, almost every Politico, has posted today on social media sending their prayers to Charlie Kirk. Almost everyone has invoked him as a friend. I heard Sandra Smith and John Roberts talk earlier today about their friendship with Charlie Kirk. I, as well, have a friendship with Charlie Kirk. That doesn't make any one of us unique. It actually makes Charlie unique. In a game and in a business where there is so much selfishness and so much self-focus and zero-sum game and competition, Charlie Kirk is a giving and willing friend who will send you a message praising your work, who's always there to support. And Charlie Kirk, knowing the threats that follow him, bravely continue to go out there every day and take on anyone who might disagree, to engage. That's why you'll see all over the place today prayers for Charlie Kirk. All right, let's bring in Joey Gallegos, who is a sophomore at Utah Valley University and was on the scene today. Joey, thank you for being with us here today. I take it you were in the crowd, some thousands there at the university. Yeah. Please share with us your experience.
So I was right there up at the barricade, and I was like 15, maybe 10 feet away from Charlie, and I remember the debater who was debating asked him about transgender gun violence or something, and then and that's when I heard I was reporting it, and then I heard the loud bang, which I can only imagine was a gunshot because everyone immediately dropped to the floor. And then it was just chaos. Like, everyone was screaming, everyone was trying to get over each other, get over the barricade to get out of the courtyard. It didn't really register to me that what happened until I was a little bit out of it, and that's when the fear really struck. And I just called on my loved ones, just bawling, making sure, that I was alive. But yeah, it was not very fun.
Joey, I think that I heard you say you were something like only 15 feet away from Charlie. Were you able, because I think everybody watching is hoping, praying, and seeking information.
I'm Caroline Collins, and we are continuing our coverage of the horrific shooting at a Utah college of political activist Charlie Kirk. He's a conservative political activist with millions of followers across social media platforms, including 7 million on Instagram and 3 million on his YouTube channel. He is known for going to colleges and talking with students and having open dialogue, getting his conservative points across. He is wildly popular amongst conservative followers. Now, we do want to continue our coverage at this hour by going live to our Live Now coverage that'll pick it up from there.
you have to resist the compulsion to get out there and start talking before you know what happened. If you look at the standards for law enforcement, especially with how prevalent information and how quickly information travels, I can see law enforcement being reticent to make statements before having things that they can certainly and they can definitively say. So I think that within the next probably 30 or 40 minutes, you'll probably see somebody coming out and giving an hourly update of some sort based on the state of the investigation. If not hourly, then maybe every 2 or 3 hours, just talking about how the investigation is progressing. Right now, law enforcement officials are wrapping their heads around just how prevalent this story is. If this is a local story, you probably don't need hourly updates. If this is a national, possibly international story, they're going to want to start getting into that cadence of doing those types of updates. The other thing, the responding law enforcement agencies, their media preparations are what's being tested now. So I wouldn't really kind of think too much from a law enforcement perspective of the agency itself, but the media folks that they do have that are present, that are currently working now, based on how experienced they are and how just with the tolerance of the office as far as from a risk standpoint, those things are all coming into play right now as they determine what needs to be said and when.
And I have to ask you, Miguel, as we're still seeing some of these law enforcement, I mean, that was a large gun that he's now putting into his car while he's there at the hospital. Is it important that law enforcement remains vigilant even at this hour after this attempt that we now know at this point on Charlie Kirk's life? Do they need to be more vigilant there while he is inside the hospital, still staying on edge at any point?
I think they probably have a very well-established perimeter right now because they know that this is an individual who is a target of violence. It's been completely reframed now what the security situation was and is. So they're not taking any chances as it stands right now. The fact that it's a long gun that we saw getting taken away is not surprising. You would need to have a long gun to be able to make a shot with that level of comfort and accuracy. So that, again, not surprising. We've had two different reports, one saying that he was shot in the heart, another person saying that, that it appeared the wound was in the neck area. So based on where he was hit and the caliber of round that was used, you're going to have some very good ideas as to how survivable that wound or those wounds may be.
And my last question for you, Miguel, right here, as we continue to take this live look outside of the hospital, waiting for more information on the condition of Charlie Kirk. Again, at last check, the Associated Press saying that he is listed there at the hospital in critical condition here. What do we need to be watching for as we see the next hours, really minutes, and days progress in this investigation?
You should be looking for a more positive identification of the shooter. So probably name, description. You'll start to see family members and friends that will be not really coming out of the woodwork, but kind of emerging from the background. You'll probably see that. Of note, this attacker was not looking to get caught and was not attempting suicide by cop either. It appears now that they're actively trying to avoid getting caught. So now I'm starting to think about either potential co-conspirators preceding the event or co-conspirators now after the event has taken place.
All right, as you see there, we certainly appreciate you for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. Miguel Clark, former FBI special agent, really here to help us break down the very latest. It's a developing situation. As Miguel said, we need to be listening and waiting for that official confirmation. Don't listen to so much of the fodder that's out there on social media or on the internet, as we want to make sure we get the details directly to you. And in fact, we do want to re-rack that for you here on Live Now in case you missed it. I want to give you an update on what we now know. If you're just now joining us, I want to let you know that we are continuing to follow the update here as Charlie Kirk is now in critical condition after he was shot. Now, this has all happened on the campus of Utah Valley University. He was speaking at a debate that was hosted by Turning Point USA. That event there had been met with divided opinions on campus. In fact, even an online petition calling for university administrators to bar Kirk from appearing received nearly 1,000 signatures ahead of this event. But at this time, Kirk has been taken to this local area hospital, as you can see there, and is currently in critical condition. That's the latest update that we have from the Associated Press. A law enforcement official did brief there, was able to speak to the AP under the condition of anonymity. Of course, if you're not familiar with who Charlie Kirk is, he's the co-founder of Turning Point USA, founding that back in 2012 at the age of 18. He soon became a very regular presence on cable TV, where he talked a lot about some of the conservative values. And so we brought you this update here on Live Now from Fox. I'm now going to toss things over to my colleague there, Andy Mack. He's going to be taking the helm here in order to continue to keep you updated on the very latest.
All right, as we continue to monitor this developing story at Utah Valley University. All right, thank you to my colleagues, Josh Breslow, Christina Evans, for continuing to dive into the latest. A very dynamic situation here following all of these top headlines. Of course, Charlie Kirk, the CEO, co-founder of the conservative youth organization Turning Point USA, right now at the last check, critical condition after shots rang out there on that campus. We're hearing different commentary from eyewitnesses on the ground. We're also expecting to hear from Speaker Mike Johnson. Plenty of reaction from lawmakers as Charlie Kirk, a very familiar name and face within a lot of the conservative circles. Let's take you right now out to more witnesses on the ground in Orem, Utah, as they describe the scene.
My thought, at least. So, how long would you say it took for everyone to get out of the area? Probably for a little bit. I think maybe up to 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Yeah, everybody was packed, and there were only two entrances basically. Of what I've seen on the right side and the left side. So it took for a while, and there was a big chunk of people gathered together, and they were trying to leave throughout the door. So yeah, it was there for a while. Some people were actually trying to find who was a shooter there, and they were screaming and yelling. And yeah, but I was just trying to get out of the scene super quick. So have you been able to make contact with anyone you were with? I have everybody's safe with their families and friends. Yeah, and I called them, and they asked me if I was okay, and I'm fine, and everybody's doing okay. So yeah, one shot. Yep, I just heard clear shot, boom, and that was it. Yeah. And I mean, as we're waiting for more information, what's kind of going through your head as you want more information too? Yeah, right now, like I said, I'm trying to digest everything, so I don't know if I can take more information down right now. But as soon as I know, I just hope everybody's safe, and especially a significant individual like Charlie Kirk that is willing to open up and speak at a university like this. I just hope everybody's okay. Yeah. Well, thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you talking with us. And so we're here on campus, and it's a ghost town. We walked through a little bit. We got
listening in there. Eyewitness described. They do say they did hear just one shot heard as he was speaking to a crowd, hundreds, thousands there on hand for this. Of course, AP continuing to report he's in critical condition after being shot there in Utah. Of course, videos posted on social media circulating, very disturbing, from Utah Valley University show Kirk speaking into a handheld microphone while sitting under a white tent with the slogans, "The American Comeback" and "Prove Me Wrong." A single shot rings out. Kirk can be reaching up with his right hand as blood potentially gushes from the side of his neck. Very disturbing, very dynamic scene. We're hearing from different people there on hand for this. Hundreds, thousands of people. We're going to hear from Speaker Mike Johnson here in just a short bit of time. But again, we've heard Charlie Kirk there so many times in different conservative circles. And this from the president saying we must all pray for Charlie Kirk, who has been shot. A great guy from top to bottom. God bless him. So plenty of reaction right now, as we're also potentially hearing on the ground on Capitol Hill, Chip Roy, the Republican, speaking out. Let's listen in.
Strong guy, he's a good man. I hope, praying for him. I don't know the status. I have no idea. I keep getting conflicting reports, so pray.
All right. You just heard there, Chip Roy, conflicting reports right now about the condition in which Charlie Kirk is in right now, but the AP reporting critical condition. So we're going to continue to follow that here on Live Now from Fox. So this is just a scene there from the ground in Orem, Utah, on the campus of Utah Valley University. And I believe we're going to be joined right now by a reporter that was a witness to what transpired today. Eva Terry from Deseret News. Deseret, you're live on Live Now from Fox right now. Can you hear me? Can you describe what you heard, what you saw today?
Hey, yes, this is Eva Terry with Deseret News. I'm here also. I've been here all morning with another reporter named Emma Pitts, and we were here an hour before talking to students. It was a really exciting, upbeat atmosphere, and there were a lot of underclassmen there. We talked to quite a few freshmen who were just really amped up and excited to see him. And then he got through his first question, and then at his second question, it was about the student asked him a question about how many transgender shooters there had been in U.S. history, and he responded. The student asked another question. Charlie Kirk went to go pick up the microphone. And that's when he was shot. It looks like it was on the left side of his neck. And it was pretty bloody. He lifted his arms up a little bit, and then he went limp and he fell. And then all of the students, everyone in the audience, the big amphitheater, we all crouched down, stayed there for about 30 or 40 seconds, and then just ran.
Yeah, I can only imagine. We're seeing on social media some of those chaotic moments in the immediate aftermath. How far away were you from Charlie Kirk when you heard that shot ring out?
Emma and I were about 3 or 4 rows back of people, so we were really close.
Can you describe the scene? Because like you mentioned, I can only imagine what someone is thinking in this moment. Can you describe the chaos right after that? Were there people tending to Charlie Kirk? Were there people running, potentially scared for their lives?
I think everyone in the audience was just focused on, I don't want to also be shot, because it was clear that it was a shooter. It sounded like, I talked to some students afterwards. They said they thought it was a firecracker. It was a pretty, for gunshots, it was a pretty quiet pop. And then it just turned into chaos. So Emma and I ran about a minute or two into another classroom and then just went under a desk. And no one really knew what was going on. So we're in there, and the administrators in there didn't know what was going on either.
All right, and obviously this is a very dynamic situation, very fluid. The AP reporting that Charlie Kirk remaining in critical condition. I do want to put up a post from Deseret News talking about the shooter, saying it was initially believed that the shooter was in custody. Officials now saying the suspect is not in custody. Can you provide any clarity? Do you know if they have a shooter? Are you aware of anything?
So we initially thought that the shooter was a man who had been taken away by police. He looked like he was a man in his 50s or 60s, an older gentleman wearing a worker's uniform. But reports are that they're still looking for someone. So they've cleared all of the students off of campus. So yeah, we have no official reports of who the shooter is and if he's been caught.
Is there a lockdown though? Because sometimes when active shooters like this, have you been alerted of a lockdown if they don't have a suspect?
I have not been alerted of any official reporting from police yet, but they have removed all students from campus and it's completely shut down.
All right, very good. And can you just set the scene one more time? Because Charlie Kirk does go to all of these college campuses coast to coast here and speak to them about the conservative values, about his mindset, about his perspective. But obviously there is the other side.
Caroline Collins back here in our Houston Live and local studios as we continue to cover the devastating shooting of political activist Charlie Kirk, who was shot at a Utah Valley University just this afternoon. The shooting caught on camera, pretty disturbing. Right now, we do know that Charlie Kirk is in critical condition, but we are waiting any type of official update. We do want to get you back out live now to our Fox News Channel coverage.
And for an outdoor event like this, it is a very dangerous circumstance for people who are influencers and who speak out and can sometimes anger the left. This is not presidential security. So Charlie had his security detail, but there's only so much they can do to secure the college because they're not authorities. So I think it could have been close up. It could have been far away. Both of those are possibilities at this point in time. But it was a shot that was, I think, going to be heard round the world, just regardless of whether Charlie lives or he passes. This is something that's going to affect the future of this nation.
To the point of security detail, Jonathan Buck, Maureen, anyone that knows Charlie knows he also does travel with a security detail. Of course, that detail would not be of the size or ability to manage a crowd of 2,000s, but for security threats closer to Charlie. The point of me sharing that information is to say that Charlie knew there were potentially threats on his life, and he continued bravely to go out there and share the truth. Maureen, I want to share these two details which just came in with you and get your reaction. Utah Valley University spokesperson is telling the media that the suspect is not in custody. Meanwhile, the New York Times reports that the person that was taken into custody after the Charlie Kirk shooting was not actually the shooter. So there have been videos circulating on social media. There's been some eyewitness testimony about the arrest. We have two reports there. Everything in the initial moments after these horrible tragedies needs to be taken with a grain of salt. I think we've all learned that the hard way when it comes to breaking news. So you have to understand that information is fluid, and it appears, Maureen, it's already changed in Utah.
Not surprising, because as you said, things like this often do change. I do find it very interesting that when they had him on the ground and they were hooking him up, his one phrase that he murmured was, "I have the right to remain silent." Why would someone who's not involved say that? I don't know. We'll have to wait to see what the experts say. But with regard to the shooting, I agree with what your other panel members have said. I'd also like to say that, you know, I think Charlie Kirk had such hope and such belief in the future of this country, and with the help of all the youth and all the young people that he dealt with on a daily basis. He had such stick-to-itiveness, and his level of dedication to his cause was just remarkable. And if I have one memory of Charlie that really just brought a smile to my face about 20 minutes ago, it was after the election night, late at night, when he'd been at it since, you know, for days in advance, and he finally realized that with that count, Trump had won, and it was in large part because of his efforts, and he lowered his head and put his face in his hands. That's a remarkable time to remember him by as we think of him now. And I am, like the others, still praying, but this was a vicious, terrible attack.
And I have heard every single one of us speak at times. I don't even know why we have. It's not right to, but we have spoken almost at times in past tense. But there are we should note, Charlie Kirk still needs our prayers. The last update we have is Charlie Kirk is in critical condition. I appreciate the three of you being with us here right now. I hope you'll stick around and hang out with us for the next 30 minutes as we continue to monitor this story. I want to share with you this as well, another eyewitness who saw the aftermath and the students hiding and running for cover in Utah.
It sounded like it was a bug, but with gunshots it could echo. Sure. So I just remember looking up and going, that sounds like a gunshot. That's a gunshot. And then I saw all the kids running out, and then that's when I took cover.
All right, let's bring in Sage Steele, who was set to speak at a conference with Charlie Kirk next week. For what it's worth, I spoke to Sage on the phone this morning before this event. I happen to know that Sage is on her honeymoon, and I tell you that because I want you to know how important it was for Sage to join us here today with this news. Sage, your reaction.
I can't find the words, Will. Evil. A couple of weeks ago, after the Minneapolis shooting, that's the same word that came to mind. First and foremost, prayer and heartbreak, and pray and pray and pray. And second, you start to say why. And to me, there is only one explanation, and that is evil. Maybe we eventually learn deeper about that, the why of the shooters. We don't know any details right now. It's not worth speculating. I guess we shouldn't be shocked because of what has happened over the last, just think of the last 13 months and July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania. And so many things since then. Charlie Kirk is one of the strongest, bravest people that I know. He has, on a personal level, encouraged me so much to not be afraid to wear this cross like I used to be. He's taught me so much about God and faith and doing the right thing even when it's hard. Charlie Kirk is changing this country, certainly changed the election. I looked at some of the numbers earlier, and the Democrats lost 20% of that vote, 18 to 29. I've said from day one it's because of Charlie Kirk. I have 3 college-age kids, as you know, Will, and Charlie Kirk is the reason why they began to care and dig a little deeper and try to understand what's going on in this country, because he encouraged thought and then came with facts. And unfortunately, it seems as if when people realize they're losing in many ways, they get desperate and they resort to violence in evil ways. And that is what we are witnessing. We witnessed July 13th last year with President Trump in Butler, and we're witnessing again today. And I'm devastated and heartbroken for him, for Erica, for his 2 beautiful children, and for this country that we've gotten to this point.
Let's talk more about this country for a moment, Sage. It's really hard. It's even hard for me. I'm sure it's hard for you not to be angry in this moment. And as much as there's been a great victory over the last 13 months, and as we've all suggested, under no small influence by Charlie Kirk, it also feels like this country is on edge when you see moments like this, and it makes you wonder about the path forward in this country. As you look at this today and you put it into the context as you did of the last 13 months, where do we go from here in America?
That's the question I've been asking since I heard this news. What do we do? My family group text right now is really interesting because there's many diverse opinions and political beliefs in my family group text. And one is, what else can we do but revolt? Do we stand up? Because conservatives were told for so long, I mean, hey, you remember what it was like working at ESPN. It's just be quiet and stay quiet and just keep it to yourselves. It's not worth it. And then you just try to put 2 and 2 together and common sense, right? And then you can talk about it because that's what America is. Look, is this what happens when you are just sharing your own personal beliefs? The thing is this is what they want. This is what the evil side wants, is for us to be scared into submission and to stay quiet. Listen, there's a temptation to do that. I got a group text from my 3 kids. They're 23, 21, and 19. They know I was prepared to speak with Charlie and Erica next week at World Outreach Church outside of Nashville, and with Charlie again at Liberty University in a month or so. And they're like, Mom, please, no more. We need you to cancel these. It's just not worth it. Please don't. Maybe they're right. Is that what we should do? But like, I know that that's what they want, and we can't do that. But to what end, Will? Like, right. I don't know. Charlie, forget about his politics. Forget about what he stands for in that way. He is a good, incredible Christian man who loves his wife and loves his kids and wants all of us to do the same and be vocal about that and bring families back in this country. Is that so bad?
Right.
I don't know where to go forward from today. And I think that's okay that we don't all have the answers right now. Like, we all have to really think deeply about this. I thought it was already as bad as it could get. Apparently not.
I think it is okay. I think it is okay, Sage. And, you know, I appreciate you pointing out that the man that has been vilified by many who disagree with him neglect to understand the quality of the human being that is Charlie Kirk. Set aside whatever he stands for in his political beliefs, but the actual man is a good man. And I think that goodness is revealed in his willingness to engage, his excitement to engage with those who disagree, Sage. He's gone on Gavin Newsom's podcast, and it's no small bit of symbolism that the event he was at today was designed in many ways to bring on people who disagree with him. Prove me you're wrong. Prove me me I'm wrong, you know, that he's done over and over again. And the rebuttal, at least in this case, has been a gunshot.
When I have watched him over the last couple of years, with his social media presence growing as he goes on to college campuses, which started with just small conversations have turned into this with thousands of people, the way he does it is beautiful. You might not like his answers. You might not like to face the facts that Charlie Kirk puts out there, but he does not scream and yell. He doesn't silence people. He allows them to have a microphone and have a voice, and then responds. He is doing what we all should be doing, which is having a conversation, listening, and then responding. Charlie Kirk has done it the right way from day one. He has made this country better because he encourages conversation and then comes back with his facts and in some cases opinions. He's done it the right way. And he still ends up in a hospital bed.
That's right.
But we cannot, that's the thing, like I'm struggling, right? We can't stop because that is what they want. I said this during the election. Charlie Kirk will go down as one of the most influential men in the history of this country. His courage to me is so inspiring and incredible because he doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have to go into the lion's den every single day and take on really the hatred long before today and be gone from his family and his wife and his kids. But he chooses to do it because of who he believes this country is and what our potential still is and what he wants his children to be able to live in and how he wants them to be able to live. I mean it, the most influential, one of the most important figures ever in this country. I love him with all my heart. And he would want us to what right now? Yes, pray, because that is what defines him. But also, okay, let's get our heads together. And we cannot let evil change us and make us run back. And he's done too much work for us to run away.
Yeah. Sage, thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that, and thank you for taking the time today out of what I know is a special time for you, but also now a hard time for all of us. And I appreciate you taking that time today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Charlie Kirk, according to the Associated Press, is in critical condition at a hospital in Utah after being shot at a college campus there for one of his Turning Point USA events. Thousands of kids gathered in Utah to watch, as they are often done in colleges across this country. According to the New York Times, the man taken into custody earlier today in Utah was not actually the shooter. According to the university as well, the suspect at this point in this shooting is not in custody. Our next guest joins us on the phone. He's Greg Schaefer, and he was the head of security for Turning Point USA for 7 years and can speak to the security protocol around events like these, as Utah Valley University spokesperson reminds us again that the suspect is not in custody. Greg, thank you for being with us here today on the phone. I'd love to just start with you before we get into this particular event. You're with Charlie for 7 years. Can you just give me some background into the threats that Charlie faces doing what he does? And when he walks into an event, what is the level of preparedness and threats that you guys faced at Turning Point?
Well, it's changed considerably over the last several years because of the growth and popularity of Charlie. I mean, I was solicited in 2015 when I recently retired from the FBI.
Greg,
after many years. Yeah.
Greg, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It is my great dishonor to be the person that says this and breaks this to you on television, but President Donald Trump is announcing on Truth Social, the great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and his family. Charlie, we love you. Charlie Kirk, according to the President of the United States, is dead. I don't really know where you go from here. I don't know where we go from here in a news program, and I don't know where we go from here in America. I don't know what's left for us as a country to discuss when even a discussion and a debate over the issues results in violence that leads to the death of a good man in this country. I believe Greg is still on the phone with us now. Greg, who served with Charlie for 7 years at Turning Point USA in a security detail. Before we go back into our conversation, Greg, I would just love to get your reaction.
I have no words to describe what I'm feeling right now. My heart and my prayers go out to Erica and her 2 beautiful children and the entire TP USA family. He has such a great staff of young 20-year-olds running that multi-million-dollar Turning Point USA organization, and they're all just salt of the earth, wonderful, patriotic American kids. And, you know, I first joined Charlie in 2015 after I retired from the FBI after 20-some-odd years, and was the first security director for Turning Point USA. And our events then, you know, were 200 to 300 kids when initially started. And then by the time I left in 2022, you know, we were having events of 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 students. He was a force to be reckoned with. What he did for the young people of this nation in getting them rallied around the conservative movement and to speak out against wokeism and to speak out against, you know, communism. You know, he would have kids from Venezuela that he would talk about and talk with, and how horrible communism is, to get the young people who are on college campuses thinking communism is the next greatest thing, and he would refute that. And he did it with love and compassion. And again, those 7 years of Charlie, they were magnificent. To watch the growth of that organization was a sheer joy and an honor. I met so many amazing people through the Turning Point USA organization. And again, my heart, it just goes out to Erica and the 2 kids, and just God bless them. Give her peace. I know she is a true believer, as was Charlie, and I know that gives her some peace. But we lost an American icon today.
I agree, Greg. As a man you knew for 7 years and worked for him, I'm sorry for your loss, Greg. Thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
As I just mentioned, Charlie Kirk has died at a hospital in Utah. At the risk of sounding repetitive, Charlie Kirk was an incredible man. Charlie Kirk was a good friend, not just to me, for anyone who holds a microphone and anyone involved in politics, anyone he came into contact with. You'll hear it repeated on numerous occasions that Charlie Kirk was my friend. And that doesn't make either any one of us unique. It makes Charlie Kirk unique, because every single one of us would get a text, would get a direct message, would get a call from Charlie, encouraging us, congratulating us, complimenting a conversation or a segment. In a business that is full of ego, in a business that is full of competition, Charlie Kirk was a true friend. Charlie Kirk was also a major, influential presence in the United States of America, who's already been described by the President of the United States as legendary. No one has marshaled the youth in this country in my lifetime in the way of Charlie Kirk. Whether or not it's my children, who I will talk to tonight when I go home, 2 young boys, teenagers, who know Charlie Kirk, who listen to Charlie Kirk, or the kids that I meet on college campuses before Big Noon kickoff on Fox Sports at Ohio State, who want to ask me about Charlie Kirk. In the thousands and tens of thousands across this country, from college campus to college campus, Charlie Kirk has been a major influence on the young people of this country. But his influence didn't stop on college campuses. Charlie Kirk's influence extended to the heights of power in the United States of America. A personal friend, I know, to the Secretary of War, to the Secretary of State, to the Vice President of the United States, to the President of the United States. Charlie Kirk's influence literally knew no bounds, and he changed America for the better. For those that hate and those that disagree and that can find no other way to respond but with violence. You did nothing today but to point out the important influence and the great man that was Charlie Kirk. Let's bring in Fox News senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich with reaction from the White House now. Jackie?
Yeah, well, we are digesting the news the same as you. The confirmation from the president that Charlie Kirk has passed away, really just putting a finer point on the concern and worry that had been sort of settling in here at the White House for the last hour or so before this news came out. I went upstairs to the press area to see if we would be getting any updates from officials after we'd been told earlier that the Secret Service, that the Situation Room and the National Security Advisor were monitoring the situation, and then got a lot of silence from there, and the worry sort of began to creep in. We've been told by the Secret Service that they are not able to give us an update on any security posture changes that might be happening for the president in light of this act of political violence. Obviously, a concern for everyone here who are going to go home tonight thinking about this, their friend who has lost his life as a result of the political violence in this country. That was the message that Charlie Kirk shared on his last post on X, to that effect, that you have to talk about those things in political terms or else it's not going to change. That was his message. And I think that in the coming days we'll be doing some reflecting on that. As far as any information on what we might be seeing tonight in terms of flags coming down or any other displays, we'll certainly keep you updated on that. But this is just developing news. And I'll also note that, the mention from President Trump.
I'm Caroline Collins, and we have just learned that Charlie Kirk, conservative political activist, did not survive the shooting at Utah Valley University this afternoon. We have just learned this from Fox News, that Charlie Kirk has died after being shot in what appears to be the neck in a brutal video that is surfacing online. Thousands of people were at this event. We're going to continue our coverage with Live Now.
Did this individual already make the escape and get out of that area? Where they have to locate where the shot came from to find that trajectory. This is a massive investigation.
Yeah, now
this clearly is a planned assassination.
Yeah, and of course, we're still learning, and obviously the investigation continues. The motive uncertain right now, unconfirmed at this point. We were speaking with different reporters there on the ground, including with Deseret News, saying they had tickets to this event, but no security, no real metal detectors. So it's hard to kind of understand who exactly attended. Does that complicate things in your eyes? The fact that they really don't have a list of people who were in attendance, or they didn't go through metal detectors at all?
What will complicate the investigation is the mass amount of people that are there. Now, I think that at most of the events that Charlie Kirk has done, most of them that I have seen have been outdoor events where I don't think they have kept records of people that go there. There would be, sometimes there are ticket sales, but doesn't mean that they would be keeping records of individuals who are there. Now, if this shooting took place from a building, if the sniper was ensconced in an office or a dormitory, this is key information. Where did the shooter post when before the shooting? How long was he there? There's so many unanswered questions here that this investigation, they're going to have to go through all of the video that was taken at this. There'll be hundreds of videos that were taken by cell phone cameras, which may possess a clue as to who the shooter is, where he was. But this all takes time to unravel. So this is a major investigation that's going to be very, very complicated.
Yeah, and they're still searching for him at this point. I do want to put up a post on social media from the governor there in Utah. This coming in from Governor Cox saying, I just got off the phone with President Trump, working with the FBI, Utah law enforcement. We will bring justice to the individual responsible for this tragedy. Abby and I are heartbroken. We are praying for Charlie's wife, daughter, and son. And since this is obviously a conservative commentator, a political commentator, does the FBI take the lead? Is the federal in charge? Who's in charge on the ground right now in Utah, Randy?
be the local police agency that covers that area, probably Salt Lake Police Department. They would have the jurisdiction here. Right now, this would be considered a state crime. Doesn't mean that we have seen that the federal government is very much willing to step in at appropriate times in order to take over prosecutions, but right now this scene will be covered by the local police.
How wide is this net that law enforcement is cast trying to find this individual? Because it was a very cramped area, potentially, as we were talking about it, just some of the social media video coming down about where this shot may or may not have come to. How wide is the net? Are they concerned that they're still on campus? They fled? What's the perspective on that, Randy?
Yeah, and that's the crux of the situation is how do you contain the suspect? And this is from the moment that the shot rang out, that's when law enforcement response becomes immediate. But what was the personnel situation there? How many police officers were in attendance? Did they have private security there? Were they able to contain the scene effectively? These are situations where if the individual was in a building somewhere, once that shot is fired, it in just minutes he could be elsewhere. He could be in a car. He could be off campus, and that, of course, will complicate this investigation even further.
Yeah, and that is obviously, it's very difficult in the chaos, the scene immediately after, hundreds, thousands of people on hand for this there on campus. And you mentioned just the amount of social media, the amount of video on hand. For schools that obviously get state funding, potentially get federal funding as well, is there any regulation in your eyes that you can kind of point to that has some of these cameras, maybe not metal detectors going into some of these places, but are schools at all required to have video camera? Is that something they're going to be leaning on right away?
Well, they will absolutely be looking at any security footage that would be from cameras that are on campus. There are no requirements that I'm aware of from a federal level that says, if you're an institution of higher learning, you have to have, so many surveillance cameras. I don't believe that exists. But we all know that, cameras are everywhere at this time, and campuses, of course, have had, issues of violence in the past. So the question is, on the campus of this, remember, this isn't a big university. This is a local college. What are their security arrangements, and what are the surveillance camera setups of that college? These are all part of the jurisdictional questions that have to be asked and examined very, very quickly.
And I want to ask you, because the suspect still very much at large right now, a large manhunt right now underway, as of course we are kind of trying to follow it. The very latest is still that the suspect is at large, and potentially if they do apprehend an individual, how do they tie them to this scene? If they don't have a gun, or if they aren't necessarily very distinguishable on camera, how do they tie an individual to a crime that was committed?
Through old-fashioned police work. That's how they're going to do it. There will be, a massive amount of forensic investigation that takes place as well. The location, where they do determine where the shooter was located, there will be, that area will be examined by forensics. Will the weapon have been left there because the individual didn't want to be seen carrying it? That'll be crucial to identifying the individual. Will there have been any fingerprints? Will there be any DNA left at the scene? These are all questions that are part of the investigation. Now, while this is still fresh, this is the meat and bones of police investigations. This is what law enforcement does.
Yeah,
and so the investigators, if they have every resource available to them now, both state, local, and federal.
All right, very good. Randy, thank you so much for breaking it down. I appreciate your time, your flexibility. Randy Sutton, founder of the Wounded Blue. Obviously, the training is out there. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time here on Live Now.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you so much. All right, let's continue on as we're just kind of taking in that scene there of that Orem, Utah tragedy unfolded. Charlie Kirk, the conservative commentator, fatally shot here as he was speaking at an event, coincidentally speaking about active shooters, transgender shooters there on that campus at UVU. We're hearing different lawmakers, including Ron DeSantis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony Antoine, and we are here on Houston Live and Local, Texas Live and Local at 4 o'clock, where we are continuing to follow the tragic news of Charlie Kirk, a political right-wing activist who was shot and killed here today at Utah State University at one of his turning point events, something that he takes on the road. It's something he took pride in and went to several college campuses all across the country and spoke about issues that were relevant to the Republican Party and the right wing and their ideologies. And today, sadly, his life was taken. We are going back and forth for you. Sometimes we're going to take you guys to our network, Fox News, to give you some coverage there, but we're also going to connect you with our Live Now team as well, giving you multiple perspectives to give you guys the most up-to-date information. So I'm going to step aside right now and send you back out to Live Now to get some more coverage.
Bit away from you. Was it scary not knowing what had happened?
Yeah, no, after I was like, I'm okay, I instantly went to my sister. I'm like, where's my sister? Started screaming for my sister, and we ran inside and we were running up and down the halls, and it was just like, what is going on? Why isn't everyone running? Why are we getting out of here? But I had found my sister, and I just knew if I made sure she was safe that everything would be okay. So that was probably my one thought that was driving me then, but yeah.
What's like, you still have the adrenaline still pumping? Like, have you been able to digest everything? Or are you still just kind of, this is so surreal?
Yeah, no, it's a little surreal. Like, especially then, it felt like a dream. I'm like, this isn't real. And, but I've been called by multiple friends, family, so I've been able to talk about it and just kind of process it, and just a lot of support right away, and seeing all the other students around campus praying with each other, just crying with each other, because it's gonna last for a minute. But yeah.
So you heard one shot, you said you might have seen some gun smoke, and just you saw him get hit. Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you hear the pop, and I just saw the blood gushing, and in my head I saw some smoke right there, and it wasn't very loud.
Just listening in there, eyewitnesses describing what they saw, what they heard on campus. And let's quickly shift gears as we entered a new hour, 5 o'clock on the East Coast, of course, 3 o'clock there in Orem, Utah. We're joined right now by Fox News' Connor Hansen. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. What's the latest? What can you tell us?
Well, Andy, unfortunately, just in the past few minutes, President Trump actually took to social media to announce that Charlie Kirk has passed away from that gunshot wound, also posting a bit of a tribute along with it. There's also been some confusion. The university initially saying the shooter had been in custody. Now we're not so sure that's the case.
I heard a loud bang.
After hearing a gunshot in the middle of campus, a crowd started running for safety. Witnesses described seeing the speaker, Charlie Kirk, being struck in the neck area and falling from his chair.
I just saw it hit him in the chest, and then all of a sudden just tons of blood gushing right out where his heart is. And then he fell over and slumped down, and everybody got down and was screaming.
A spokesperson from Utah Valley University says the shot was fired from a building about 200 yards away, and that the campus closed for the rest of the day. Former Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz was at the event and witnessed the shooting.
As soon as that shot went out, he fell back into his left, and everybody hit the deck.
Charlie Kirk became a highly influential conservative activist and influencer after starting Turning Point USA. The group has a presence at thousands of universities and high schools and regularly holds campus events. Kirk is credited for helping President Trump win over young voters and win back the White House. Support for Kirk after the shooting has been bipartisan.
I mean, it's just another horrible act of political violence that has no place in our country.
and the White House Situation Room had been monitoring this since that shot was fired. And I'll just read you a piece of what President Trump had to say, calling Charlie Kirk legendary. He said, quote, "No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania, and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you." Back to you, Andy.
All right, thank you so much. A dark day there in Utah, and so many of this political circles there, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. Connor Hansen, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, great reporting there as always. President Trump making that announcement that the conservative commentator Charlie Kirk fatally shot on the campus, as we heard the chaotic scene, showing some of those images there. So many different people, media on hand for this. We do have just this a couple live pictures as well, as President Trump confirming this. Charlie Kirk dead, has died after the shooting. The suspect still very much at large. That is the most recent details that we can provide. We do have plenty of law enforcement. We did see SWAT vehicles on hand, a lockdown still in place. There are plenty of reporters there, traffic moving around the campus, but you can see just the amount of force, the amount of people there on campus. You can see their state, like we heard from Randy Sutton, likely taking the lead on this at this point, but walking around. So we'll keep an eye on all of these, but different reaction from lawmakers as Charlie Kirk was a prominent face, a prominent voice within those conservative circles, and was so influential in moving that youth vote to the polls to potentially get President Trump into the White House. And different comments, including from the Representative Nancy Mace, saying our hearts are break for the Kirk family, Turning Point USA, and all who had the privilege of knowing Charlie personally. He was a beacon of true leadership, rooted deeply in his faith as a Christian, his principles as a conservative, and his integrity as a man. Charlie was one of the brightest lights of our time, whose sole mission was to share the word of God and to promote peace. Tragically, he was senselessly taken from us in cold blood. So that coming in from lawmaker Nancy Mace on social media. We've heard from Ron DeSantis. We've heard from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. So plenty of outpouring of love, prayers, thoughts for the family there on the Republican side. And we are monitoring all the latest. John Fetterman, the Democrat, saying our family grieves for Charlie Kirk's family. We must collectively find a way forward during these polarized times. And as I spoke with Cami Mondo about that, the political violence, the temperature that needs to be lowered, obviously concern for that after two assassination attempts on then candidate Donald Trump. And coincidentally, also, they are going to seat a jury in that second assassination attempt case for Ryan Ruth in Fort Pierce, Florida. That likely coming today, opening statements tomorrow. So obviously all of this transpiring very quickly. So just taking you back out, live pictures here on Live Now from Fox, Orem, Utah, different locations, different live shots for reporters there on the ground. Again, just another live picture as still at large right now, a manhunt, a massive one for the suspect following the shooting. They are saying just a single shot rang out on the campus as he was answering a question. Let's take you back out, though, to different lawmakers, or excuse me, different witnesses watching unfold what happened, including one of those people from Connor Hansen's story. Let's listen into this here on Live Now.
And decided to go watch Charlie Kirk between my classes. So
my name is Paris. I just wanted to come and watch what I thought would be a civil conversation, and it turned completely different.
What did you see?
I looked down when it happened, but
so basically I heard a loud bang, which I figured a shot would be a little bit louder, but I just saw it hit him in the chest, and then all of a sudden just tons of blood gushing right out where his heart is, and then he like fell over and slumped down, and everybody got down and was screaming, and then we all ran.
Can you describe just, did he appear to be moving afterward, or what?
Not at all. I personally believe he was dead on impact.
Oh my goodness. What happened after that? What did you see?
Everyone got down. Everyone was so scared, and I just grabbed her, and my boss was with us, which is her mom. She was like, run, and we finally got up and followed the crowd, and I just kept holding her. I don't even have my shoes on. I left my keys, and everyone's just like scared. Like it's traumatizing. Like, you know, it scares. Like I don't even want to go to school tomorrow. You know, so
I agree with that statement.
Yeah, I'm scared to go to school, but.
You heard the one shot. Were there multiple shots or?
I think just one shot straight into Charlie Kirk, and that was it. And I think they got him.
And did you see the person who fired the shot or anything like that?
No, I just knew that it came to the right of me and went just directly into his heart.
I got a picture of him.
Did you? What did you see as far as? I mean, was the crowd? How was the crowd reacting to him? I mean, he is somewhat known for being provocative, but what was going on beforehand? What was he talking about?
So the first student got up and they were talking about religion, Mormonism, and Christianity, and the second student to get up was talking about transgenderism and how gun violence has been very frequent with that community, and that is when it happened. Pretty ironic.
Yeah. Right after, during, right on that topic.
Yeah, it's when he got shot in the heart.
Yeah.
What did you all see? You're joining us. What did you see?
Well, I was about to enter the building. I heard what I thought was a gunshot, and I hurried and took cover. And then I saw the students running out, and I saw her. She was panicking. I thought she was having a panic attack. So then I grabbed her, and we ran through the tunnel, and then just brought her to my car over here to get her to calm down. So, you know.
You?
I was watching from pretty close up, and I heard a pop. And I thought, no, that nobody's shooting firecrackers, right? This is the middle of the day. And then I watched a fountain of blood come out of the side of his neck like a water fountain. And it was surreal. Everyone dropped, and I was like, where's the gunman? I don't see any gunman. And then I dropped, because I'm just a very logical thinker like that. And so, yeah. And then a friend of mine drove me over here, just barely dropped me off, but he got a picture of the gunman. And it's pretty embarrassing. He got his pants pulled down as they took him down, and he sent me a picture. He was wearing garment bottoms, or what looked like white knee shorts. Just, you know, Utah.
Obviously a volatile situation, and what was the crowd's reaction when all of this happened? You said you were up, you were standing there, you know, a little frozen, it sounds like. What was the crowd's reaction?
Everyone freaked out and screamed, and then after everyone was leaving, there was just a lot of confusion until the cops started making everyone leave, because people were still standing around and talking and in clusters, but the majority had run. And so, you know, after that, the police forced everyone in, and they started roping off the courtyard in yellow police tape. And then as we were walking through the hall, policemen with large... The campus was being shut down.
I'll see with the police. Was there a police presence there from the beginning? You know, how did it unfold?
Yeah, so there definitely was a police presence there. I saw some on top of the balcony above, and some below. And of course, you have Kirk's own kind of bodyguards around. But I will definitely say we saw a lot more after the shooting, of course.
Of course. You said you may have seen something?
Well, I'm just saying Charlie Kirk is a hero. All right?
He is. Absolutely.
Pray for him.
Hero. We don't know if he's still alive.
Everybody in there was very concerned for him. And all I could think of was go towards Charlie, because I just want to know if he was okay. You know, there are a lot of people like him. He's a very courageous man.
What did you see? Can you just recap what you saw?
Yeah, I saw him just go over to the side. So everybody then dispersed and ran into the buildings or all over. But so I went toward Charlie, and then pretty soon they got somebody. The police arrested someone. They were dragging him all the way down. Older man, white hair, blue shirt. so.
All right, just listening in there, and of course, some of those images coming on social media, but according to the university, suspect is still at large at this hour after this all unfolded several hours ago. So obviously a lockdown still in place. Classes have been canceled. We are monitoring just this scene right now there on campus in Orem, Utah, just down the road from Salt Lake City, from the capital in Utah. And we're hearing plenty of reaction right now, including from the president, who really broke the news that Charlie Kirk had died. And he also says, in honor of Charlie Kirk, a truly great American patriot, I am ordering all American flags throughout the United States lowered to half-mast until Sunday evening at 6 p.m. So you'll see the red, white, and blue there just at half-mast for the next several days to honor Charlie Kirk after this fatal shooting there. Also, Joe Biden, the former president, saying there is no place in our country for this kind of violence. It must end now. Jill and I are praying for Charlie Kirk's family and loved ones. Also from the vice president and others talking about this, including Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, saying, rest in peace to my friend Charlie Kirk. My heart is with his loved ones at this devastating time. This inexcusable violence belongs nowhere in a civilized society. Charlie was a brave man, a devoted husband, a loving father, and a great patriot. Please join me in praying for his family and our country. From Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, saying, Jeanette and I are devastated. Charlie Kirk's commitment to America's future generations and sense of patriotism will resonate for decades to come. May the Lord bless Charlie and his family. And J.D. Vance, the vice president, saying, eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord, speaking about Charlie Kirk there, the fatal shooting. And I believe we also have a post from Charlie Kirk's wife, obviously leaving behind a wife and 2 children, also reciting scripture here after this fatal shooting that happened there on the campus, speaking to students, speaking to hundreds of people in their teens, in their 20s, and even potentially some parents, some members of the community there on the ground in that location. And coincidentally, he was also speaking about gun violence, speaking about recent shootings. So we're seeing this here on Live Now from Fox, as I believe soon enough, some of these flags will be lowered to half-mast. I believe this one's at the top of the White House right now as they're zooming in, so it will take place for the next several days. And we're also getting different sound in right now. Witnesses on the ground speaking about what they heard. Let's listen in.
Inside the glass walls next in the food court, and everybody just started running in and screaming. The girls were crying. It was just insane. People were saying there was a shooter. Me and my friend, we were just like, holy cow, what is going on? We just ran out the back doors and just went back to school. And then everything got locked down. They're not letting kids leave right now. Everything's just crazy.
Now, when did you hear about Charlie Kirk coming to campus, and why did you want to see him?
My friend Derek, he actually sent me a reel on Instagram about Charlie Kirk coming about a week ago. And then my cousin recently was telling me about how he can get extra credit if you go and see Charlie Kirk at this event. And
that was from a local high school, correct?
Yeah, and it was from Skyridge, I know, was getting extra credit. And so I knew a bunch of like high schoolers that were going there, and everybody was coming down. And it was also Wolverine Wednesday, so there was pizza. It was just so many, it was just crazy.
Where were you? You heard the shot, is that correct? Where were you when you heard the shot?
I was inside UVU still. I was walking out the glass doors.
Okay, and when you walked out, you mentioned just people, I guess, in panic, screaming and running in all directions?
Yeah, it was just insane.
Okay. How are you processing what you saw? I mean, you've been walking around kind of milling about. There's a lot of students that are walking around milling about, but it's been a few hours now. I mean, how are you kind of recounting the day's events here and processing all of that internally?
I'm still shaken. It's hard to process because I'm just sitting in class and they're like, oh my gosh, he's announced dead. He's died, and it's just insane. And then we're looking at these videos because there's videos of him being shot. It's just, I feel like I'm still in shock right now. It's just insane.
What did you want to hear from Charlie? You were excited to hear him speak, right?
I don't know a lot about Charlie, but I was just interested on what other people were going to say to Charlie and what was going to happen. And something happened, which is just insane.
Anything else you want to share with us today? Thanks for a few minutes, and glad you're okay.
I don't know. I just feel like it was something that totally could have been stopped. They would have maybe checked bags or done something to protect him, and because they had cops above on the walkways. They had cops above on the walkways who were stopping what I assume people from throwing stuff down towards him. So I wonder why there wasn't any level of security taken to stop people around, like in front of him or anything like that.
So you didn't see any true security measures other than maybe from afar, is that correct?
Yeah, it was just, there was not a lot of cops there. I've seen more cops at UVU during sporting events than right now, which is, and this is the most amount of kids I've ever seen at UVU. Just insane.
Thanks for coming over and talking. I'm glad you're okay, and thanks for a few minutes. Yeah. And I hope obviously you're...
All right, just listening in there, a witness describing the scene and also describing the lack of security that was there on hand. He spoke to the Deseret News saying they had tickets for this event. They were attending it, but no one even took their tickets. No one scanned their tickets, and they also said there were no metal detectors and no real security on hand. So it's very interesting to look into that. As, of course, following it right here on Live Now from Fox, a manhunt, a massive one, is underway right now there in Orem, Utah. Live picture one more time, as we haven't really heard from authorities, not in a press conference setting, not in a way that we can provide to you in full, live, raw, and unfiltered. But obviously this is the scene just outside of this campus as traffic is moving along, as obviously very difficult for this entire community, the conservative group, the political sphere that is Charlie Kirk in it. So obviously President Trump confirming that he has died. I also want to put up a post from the Washington Examiner. As the manhunt continues, they look for the suspect. Mia Cathell saying, according to a live feed of the Utah County police scanner, at the time of the Charlie Kirk shooting, an individual was spotted with a long rifle, wearing jeans, a black shirt, a black mask, and a black vest on top of the building on the far north side, just east of the library, wearing jeans, black shirt, black vest, and a speaker said on this police scanner. And of course, Salt Lake City police also on hand for this, just down the road, taking the highway there to this scene. So a manhunt underway for this of what's going on, as potentially we will see also the flags be lowered to half-mast to honor Charlie Kirk. That was an order from the President of the United States, as he announced that they will be that way until Sunday at 6 o'clock. So we're just following it very closely, and it is gone quiet right now, but obviously investigations, the search for that individual still very much present, taking place. So just monitoring this here very closely. Different reaction continues to filter in. Nikki Haley saying, we pray for Charlie that he may rest in God's arms. May God comfort his sweet family. May God heal our country. We need his grace now more than ever. So, of course, that was a presidential candidate herself going up against President Trump, putting up a valiant fight. So she's in the GOP circles there, as well as Charlie Kirk. Again, a live picture in Orem, Utah, one more time. And just to reset here, if you're just joining us on Live Now from Fox, a very dynamic situation as the Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist and close ally to President Trump, was shot and killed on Wednesday at that college in Utah at an event that acted to draw renewed attention to the threat of political violence across the country. Just monitoring this shot one more time here on Live Now from Fox. The death was announced on social media by President Trump, who praised the 31-year-old Kirk, the co-founder and CEO of the youth organization Turning Point USA, as, quote, great and even legendary, saying no one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. The suspected shooter has not been arrested. The mayor said a person who was taken into custody by law enforcement at the university where Kirk was speaking was not the suspect. Videos posted on social media from the Utah Valley University show Kirk speaking into a handheld microphone while sitting under a white tent emblazoned with slogans like "The American Comeback" and "Prove Me Wrong." A single shot rang out, and Kirk can be seen reaching up with his right hand as a large volume of blood gushes from his neck. Of course, some spectators heard gasping, fled the scene. So, of course, public relations for Turning Point USA saying, confirming he was shot, praying for Charlie. So still very dynamic, a fluid situation, but everyday life going on this street, just outside. So it's just hard. The distance between this and what was going on. Just hundreds of people, almost 1,000 or more in attendance for this event. And I do believe we are seeing now as people potentially getting on top of the White House to lower these flags to half-mast to honor Charlie Kirk. So we're just going to stick with this shot here briefly, as not a ton of other information. We're still waiting on a press conference from law enforcement, waiting on an update of some kind from lawmakers there in Utah or beyond. We were hearing that Speaker Mike Johnson held a moment of silence, a moment of prayer to honor this, and of course very fluid. So many people are close allies, close friends of Charlie Kirk in Washington, D.C. So the lowering of the United States flag now taking place atop the White House. All right, just listening in there. I just wanted to give that a little bit moment to breathe as a somber day here on this September the 10th, as the flags being lowered to half-mast there in our nation's capital by the order of the President of the United States. So still following this, and we're still trying to grasp, trying to understand what happened as police, the investigation continues for that suspect. Let's take you right now out to other witnesses of what they saw. And of course, this was students, different members of the community alike, coming to hear what he has to say, as he has spoken and it has resonated so much with the youth in the Republican Party and beyond. Let's take you out to some more witnesses there in Orem, Utah.
I'm guessing you were at the event as well?
Yes.
Where were you at in relation to the stage?
I was about ready to go in at the front doors when I heard the gunshot. So I tucked away under because I'm a retired police officer.
Okay.
So I was worried about the people being trampled, and then the students started rushing out. And that's when I grabbed two students. One was about ready to pass out. I took her. One of the guys carried him. We carried him and went through the tunnel. And then I recognized the guy that was arrested as George Zim. I went with Charlie Kirk's group on Turning Point USA last year. He rode in the front seat above, right ahead of me. So I recognized him as the one they arrested. I don't know if he's the shooter, but that is the one they arrested.
So you weren't actually in the event yet. You said you were at the doors or at the gate.
When I heard the gunshot, and then I tucked around the corner, and then that's when I saw the crowd racing out, and that's when I tried to rescue the two students.
Could you tell where the gunshot came from?
Yeah, I just looked up. It sounded like it was above, but with gunshots it could echo.
Sure.
So I just remember looking up and going, that sounds like a gunshot. That's a gunshot. And then I saw all the kids running out, and then that's when I took cover, and then I saw the two students.
You said you were a former police officer?
Yes.
Who were you with?
Unified Police.
For how long?
20 years.
Were you in the field? What was your role there?
Yeah, I was 4.5 years in the jail, 4.5 years in court, 10 years on the road.
Wow.
As a canine officer, a detective, and a school resource officer. I also taught active shooter.
So you've done quite a bit. That's what you're telling me. Any of that, I would imagine, would that kick in today for you?
Yeah, I took cover, and then my first response is to protect the kids, the students, because I was worried about them being trampled.
Sure.
And so when the one girl was almost about to pass out, I thought she was going to get trampled, so I grabbed her, and then I grabbed the other one and put her into a place area underneath the tunnel over here to protect her from any more gunshots.
What's your thoughts on this?
I don't, I know George from several events I've been to. He always struck me as a little bit odd. I know he's been banned from church property and the Herberts and Governor Coggs. But he's a different guy. I'm not saying he's a shooter, but I recognize them as being the guy that was arrested. So, yeah.
So besides George, though, if George is not the shooter, your thoughts on it just in general, if just you're coming to this event to hear and something like this happens?
Well, based on my experience with shooters and all the way I was described where it hit his heart and then blasted out this way, it would seem that it would have been shot from below if it shot out this way. I didn't actually hear the shot. So it would be pretty hard to
I've been listening to our station. We've been on air with this since it happened. They're saying he's at the hospital in critical condition right now. That's the last that I've heard from this. When you look across and you see this massive police presence from units from all over, so many SWAT units showing up, is this normal for something like this, especially on a college campus?
Yeah, they're going to tape it all off. It's a huge crime scene. That's why when I wanted to preserve evidence, and so I immediately called the police. I said I have 2 witnesses. I tucked them into my car that were actually on the 4th row back. I just literally saw, because the news is saying it hit him in the neck. The girl I interviewed said it was a direct hit to the heart, and she saw it. So I called the police, let them know, got their names, so that we have the witnesses, and kept them here until the police said we could go. And then right now, we've seen them.
I'm Anthony Antoine, and this is Texas Live and Local here. We've been following the tragic news of Republican and conservative activist Charlie Kirk being shot and killed here today at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. And that is according to President Donald Trump, who put out that tweet today. Charlie was the founder of Turning Point USA, a conservative organization that traveled the country to engage in political discourse between opposing views. And that is exactly what he was doing here today at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. And he was sadly shot and killed. As for the shooter in this case, no one, according to police as of right now, has been taken into custody. I know I've seen videos on social media circulating, but as of right now, according to police, no one has been taken into custody. So there's an active manhunt taking place right now. Charlie was a husband and a father of 2 young kids. And what you're about to see, rather, is we're going to send you back and forth to our Live Now coverage. We have reporters on the ground there in Utah, but also potentially we'll send you guys over to Fox News, our national coverage, depending on where the conversation is centered around. Right now, we're hearing from witnesses at Live Now. So we want to send you back there to Live Now, but it's very much so possible we'll send you to Fox News channel as well.
Sound from someone there in Phoenix talking about his influence at Turning Point, what it meant for them. Let's listen in.
For a lot of reasons. I'm going to get emotional, so give me a second.
Okay, take your time. You brought flowers out here.
Yeah.
You want to talk about...
Because I have a young man who's in college right now, and I know how important Charlie Kirk was to this generation, and I just think it's important that we stop the violence, and some of us need to speak up and come out of the shadows right now, because some of us have been quiet for a long time. And Charlie was brave, and he spoke up for all of us who couldn't speak. Sorry, I'm just very emotional about it, because it just heard he passed. So, we just live in a very strange society right now, and I just think it's very important that those of us who have different views from most of you who are standing here right now understand that there are those of us who don't agree. And Charlie Kirk was one who would get up and speak for us, and he just had a very strong voice, and he was very calm in his response to people, and especially this generation where a lot of kids who have different views than the mainstream media has, and other people who don't agree have felt like they couldn't say anything. So he was able to speak for us, and especially for young men. And we just live in a society that does not support conservative views and the role of family and having children and doing things the way that we were brought up to believe things were supposed to be. And so I don't know what to say. As a parent, what do you think Erica and the rest of his family is? Well, I'm sure they're devastated right now. I can't imagine. They had, I'm sure they knew the risks that they were making every time he spoke, but they chose to do it when the rest of us don't do it. And so I'm just humbled by his family. I'm humbled by him and the way he chose to live his life. So,
what kind of impact do you think he had, especially on young conservatives?
I think it made them feel more empowered because they could have a voice, where sometimes having that voice nowadays is not honored. And I'm mean, obviously you can tell that he was killed for it. So the fact that he spoke up when others don't feel like they can, so this is the way of silencing that voice, and it's just not right. It's not right. And I think what's going to happen now is there are going to be a lot of young men and young women who have these views that Charlie had that are probably going to start speaking up and start living a little more boldly. So I think, if anything, this is probably going to bring more young men who have been quiet, maybe, who didn't feel like they could speak, and even young women. They'll have the encouragement and the empowerment now to speak up, because I'm standing here in front of all these cameras with all these, and I would never do this normally to speak, but it's just so important to me as having a young man that our voices be heard now.
Can you say your name again?
Andrea Serrano.
How do you spell your last name?
Serrano.
Andrea, what made you want to come down?
Just because of my son, to be honest with you, because of how he spoke up for our young men, and my son's in college, and these views, he believes in these views as well, and it gave him a voice to say, yeah, that what he was learning in high school and in some colleges right now is not the view that he had, and it just empowered those young men. And so my son, I'm just grateful for his life, for Charlie.
I mean, this happened on a college campus. Your son's in college.
Yeah, I worry about it, but we can't live in fear. We have to be able to get up like I am doing right now, and we have to be able to speak. We have to say what we believe, because what they want us to do is not say anything, and that's just not the way life is. So here in America, we have free speech. We can say what we believe, and we shouldn't be afraid to say it. We should be able to have the strength and be able to, otherwise we're not going to have a free country. We're not going to be able to do anything, which is exactly what they want. So.
Your name again?
Andrea Serrano.
And spell it just...
Serrano.
Okay, thanks.
We really have it this time. Thank you.
Just listening in there as they're continuing to gather the sound outside of the Turning Point USA, the headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona. So you see kind of them zooming in on this scene as they talked about the empowerment that Charlie Kirk brought to so many people that potentially felt like just a number, just a statistic. So obviously a very dark day there in Utah and beyond. A live picture right now in Orem, Utah, as we're still watching a manhunt underway. A lockdown is in place there at the Utah Valley University following this unfortunate incident. So just a few live pictures, including in obviously Arizona Turning Point headquarters, in Washington, D.C. at the White House, as flags being flown now at half staff atop that building, that federal building, as you will see that soon be lowered in other locations, other regions, other communities. Talking about this, President Trump confirming the most recent. And obviously this goes beyond just the United States, as different world leaders, different dignitaries are speaking out about this political violence, including the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, on social media, commenting Charlie Kirk was murdered for speaking truth and defending freedom. A lion-hearted friend of Israel, he fought the lies and stood tall for Judeo-Christian civilization. I spoke with him only 2 weeks ago, invited him to Israel. Sadly, that visit will not take place. We lost an incredible human being. His boundless pride in America and his valiant belief in free speech will leave a lasting impact. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. Also coming in, Donald Trump. I love you, brother. You gave so many people the courage to speak up, and we will never be silenced. That coming in from Donald Trump Jr., quoting his father. Also, Speaker Mike Johnson saying, I'm utterly devastated. Charlie was a close friend and confidant. He will be sorely missed by so many. Every political leader must loudly and clearly decry the violence. Our prayers go out to his wife and young children. May he rest in peace. And we're also hearing from Speaker Mike Johnson just a little bit ago, and again, just part of this cabinet, Brooke Rollins, the Ag Secretary, saying the death of my sweetest friend and fellow warrior for Christ and for America, Charlie Kirk, is a profound tragedy. First and foremost, his lovely Erica and their two beloved children that he left behind. They feel it more keenly than any of us can, and our first duty is to pray both for his soul and for their peace. And as I was mentioned, we heard from Speaker Mike Johnson. He held a moment of silence, a moment of prayer on the floor there at the House of Representatives. Let's take you out to this quick sound. This was prior to the initial confirmation as they were just getting in those reports of the shooting that ultimately turned fatal. Let's listen in.
We just want to make a brief statement here, and I'm going to go and ask my colleagues to join me in a moment of silence for our dear friend Charlie Kirk. We ask everyone to pray for him and his family. I'm just going to state the obvious here. This is detestable, what's happened. Political violence has become all too common in American society, and this is not who we are. It violates the core principles of our country, our Judeo-Christian heritage, our civil society, our American way of life, and it must stop. We need every political figure, we need everyone who has a platform to say this loudly and clearly. We can settle disagreements and disputes in a civil manner, and political violence must be called out, and it has to stop. Again, we ask for prayer. I'm going to go lead the chamber here in a moment of silence, and we hope for the best for Charlie. Thank you.
Just listening in there, that was Speaker Mike Johnson holding that moment of silence, that moment of prayer, and that was before President Trump confirming the news that Charlie Kirk was fatally shot on the campus at Utah Valley University, speaking to different members of that community, to different students there as well. So, of course, we do have a couple pictures there in Washington, D.C. of the White House, as Charlie Kirk was a close ally of the president. As you can see this here on Live Now from Fox, as talking about this, honoring the memory of Charlie Kirk, a live picture right there in Washington, D.C. at the White House. Also, you can see the giant flags, the big American flags there just north and south of the White House as he orders them for half-staff, as he has also released a proclamation honoring the memory of Charlie Kirk, saying, as a mark of respect for the memory of Charlie Kirk by the authority vested in me as President of the United States by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, I hereby order that the flag of the United States will be flown at half-staff at the White House and upon all public buildings and grounds, at all military posts and naval stations, and on all naval vessels of the federal government in the District of Columbia and throughout the United States and its territories and possessions until sunset of September the 14th. I also directed the flag shall be flown at half-staff for the same length of time at all the United States embassies, consular offices, other facilities abroad, including all military facilities, naval vessels, and stations, in witness whereof I hereunto set my hand this 10th day of September in the year of the Lord 2025, and of the independence of the United States of America. So obviously flags being flown at half-staff for Charlie Kirk. A live picture closer of that here very closely, and we're getting different images in from different locations there, as the suspect still very much at large at this point. So no new information, no press conferences as of yet on what's going on that campus in Orem, Utah, just down the road from the Capitol there in Salt Lake City. We are getting just this a live picture one more time. As you can see, the fire department also on hand for this. The scene police, they're going to see plenty of law enforcement from the federal, state, local, city, all providing support. And of course, Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA. He obviously made his mark in so many locations, but the headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona, already the flags being flown at half-staff. Let's take you out to other members of the community speaking out.
She says, Mom, guess why I'm calling you right now? And I couldn't think of anything specific other than bad news, right? And that's when she said Charlie had been shot. So we followed that on social media for a bit until right now. And when she finally let me know what the final word was, I said, you know, I'm right down the street, so I'm going over there. And my head's in a place of anger right now for his loss. And my head's also in a place of the evil that it took to take his life, the hatred and evil, all in the name of, I don't agree with you. That was all. Just, I don't agree with you. And that's not a reason to take someone's life at all. There's a lot of people I don't agree with, but I'm not out there shooting them, you know. I'm not sabotaging their life in any way. But that's what this was about. It was about, I don't agree with you. I hate you to the point that I'm willing to kill you. That's what this was about.
You said that it was your daughter who told you about this. What did Charlie Kirk and his work mean to you, your family?
My oldest daughter is a veteran of the Navy. She was a doc at Camp Pendleton for 3 years. So to have conservative commentary that supported our military and believed in what we did in America as Americans means the world to her. And to have someone like Charlie to speak up not just for veterans, but for unspoken Americans everywhere, as well as the privileged and the underprivileged. Because Charlie's message was all about faith and belief and patriotism, okay? And your First Amendment is your First Amendment, but you have to be sure of what you believe in, and you have to be willing and ready to share that at a moment's notice. Because people are going to question you on what you believe, and Charlie believed it, and he knew it, and he was always ready with a good answer, with the right answer that he knew. And when you love God, when you're saved, when you're Christian, you could be Catholic, Methodist, whatever it is, there's a belief in your faith, there's a belief in God, and you will answer for that to people who ask. But people didn't want to hear Charlie's views. They didn't want to hear what he had to say. There's all kinds of ugly on the internet right now about that, Lord knows. And he died for what he believed in. And the only thing I can say is they hated Jesus too. They killed him for it. But Jesus rose on the third day. Charlie, in a mortal body, is in heaven with God right now. So his mortal body won't come up out of the grave today. But I digress. My daughter and I are both, it's just time to go buy more guns and more ammo. That's all. Because if they want to bring a fight like this to the street, I can guarantee you there's enough of us Americans, veterans, active, whoever it is in the neighborhood that wants it to stay safe and a safe America. I will guarantee you that gun sales are going to skyrocket beginning today. By the end of the week, stores are going to be out of ammunition. They're going to be out of guns. It's crazy. That's what the conservative will do when somebody does this, because that was foolish and selfish, just like the person who killed the man in the turban after 9/11, a local gas station owner, a Sikh man, Mr. Singh. He was murdered by a neighbor down the street because he wore a turban at his own gas station. And Mr. Singh had owned that gas station for decades.
You're being kind enough to, in your grief, taking the time to speak with me. What, I guess, message-wise do you hope kind of share from that? Why was it important for you to say yes to speak?
Because you have to be a patriot today. You have to be a patriot today. Because if you're not a patriot today, willing to stand up and defend this country, this neighborhood, these families that you live with in your home and down the street, who's going to protect us unless we do it ourselves? We're the common militia. We're the military. We're the neighbors. We're those people that fought the revolution in 1776 when it became official, but we fought for years after that, okay? It's important because if we don't stand up and take this fight and fight it valiantly, we're going to die. We're going to be killed in the street, and anarchy's going to reign, and that's the bottom line, and that's what's happened in other countries.
I'm very sorry to have to plead under these circumstances, but I do appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you. What's your name?
Amalia.
Amalia, thank you.
It's nice to meet
Are you with Fox News?
All right, you're just listening in here on Live Now from Fox to some speakers outside of Turning Point USA headquarters there in Phoenix, Arizona. So following it closely here on Live Now from Fox, speaking out about political violence in previous years as well, and her concern over that and the escalating nature of it. We do have a live podium right now just popping up here on Live Now from Fox. And I believe this is going to be the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, expected to speak at this microphone. You see all these media members setting up their microphones, the seal there at the bottom. I believe it should say Utah. I'm not exactly sure, but you see other people awaiting, getting a white balance. That's what they're doing. We're going to put that down because that might be that guy's driver's license. But let's also take you out to some most recent reaction, including the former President Barack Obama talking about this, saying, we don't know yet what motivated the person who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, but this kind of despicable violence has no place in our democracy. Michelle and I will be praying for Charlie's family tonight, especially his wife, Erica, and their 2 young children. So obviously that coming in from Barack Obama, the former president, here on Live Now from Fox, as we're hearing from different members of the cabinet, from President Trump himself, who confirmed the news. That was the initial report coming out. And Charlie Kirk, a former close ally now of the president and a conservative commentator, losing his life, speaking out. And we heard different reporting there from on the ground talking about this turning point, showcasing a statement right now saying it's with a heavy heart that we confirm James Charles Kirk has been murdered by a gunshot that took place during Turning Point USA's The American Comeback Tour campus event at Utah Valley University on September the 10th, 2025. May he be received into the merciful arms of our loving Savior who suffered and died for Christ, for Charlie. We ask that everyone keep his family and loved ones in your prayers. We ask that you please respect their privacy and dignity during this time. And this is a live picture at the headquarters of Turning Point USA in Phoenix, Arizona. And Charlie Kirk has been on campuses far and wide, potentially even in a location near you, wherever you're watching us here on Live Now. So we're awaiting a press conference from the governor of Utah talking about this, potentially providing an update on the suspect. That is the big question right now. Where is the suspect? Potentially, what motivated this individual? Because it was just a single shot that rang out, that what that crowd of hundreds heard unfold there on that campus at UVU in Orem, Utah. So we're expecting to hear an update from the governor. I believe we do have a post on social media from the governor as well, Spencer Cox, expressing his condolences to Charlie Kirk, the conservative commentator, as the death was announced on social media, saying by President Trump, saying no one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. So saying he was legendary for his empowerment, the fact that his voice resonated so fully with those in the youth movement that came out to the polls in a big way to push to get President Trump over the edge in this most recent election. Live picture right now there at the White House, the flags being flown at half staff for this. So we are still waiting. Reporters though in front of the cameras right now. So we are still monitoring it, and we'll take you out to it as soon as it happens. Let's take you right now to more witness sound, what they saw, what they heard on the ground in Utah.
It again, but what happened?
Well, I can tell you that us standing in the question line, there were a bunch of different people with a bunch of different people. Sure. We were all talking to each other. I was helping a person of a different viewpoint actually role play to ask Charlie Kirk a question. And we were all laughing, joking, sharing, asking each other, what's your question? What's your question? And all the shooter did today is take the ability for us to come together and share different discussions, and they completely took that away from us. And anybody that has any idea of doing something like this in the future, that is all you're doing is taking away our abilities as Americans. Myself as a veteran, I love situations like this where different people can come together with different viewpoints, and all you did was strip that ability for us to talk and have discourse and share ideas with each other. You stripped that away from us and just drove us further apart.
What did you see when you were in line and the shooting happened? Kind of describe that.
We were all watching Charlie. The first question was a question about LDS, which, of course, typical Utah, right? Of course. Oddly enough, the very second question that was asked when it happened had to do with transgender shooters, right? And I'm not saying that the shooter was transgender. I have no idea, and I don't think it's right for anybody to speculate as to whether or not that shooter was transgender. But conveniently enough, the very question that was being answered while Charlie got shot was a question about shooters and transgender. And the fact of the matter is that the shooter has issues. It's not whether or not they're transgender. It's not whether or not they're white, black, yellow, orange, green, like guys, like girls. What matters is the fact that this person has issues, that they feel murder is the way to resolve those issues.
You mentioned that you were a veteran. When this happened, what did you do?
These are the types of situations where I I served in Afghanistan in 2011. Gunshots aren't a foreign thing to me. I had actually had this discussion with other spectators how what Charlie was put in was a bowl, an absolute kill box, right? Okay. It's just a bowl with him on one end, and he does have an evacuation tunnel, which was great. But I had the discussion with them on, hey, you know, heaven forbid something happens today, this is what you need to do. Get up against the wall, go out through the tunnel. It's the safest way out. And when everything happened, that's exactly what I did. I said, everybody up against the wall, go out through the tunnel, everybody get down. And it was, I mean, it was just sheer panic. Sheer panic.
Could you tell where the shot even came from?
In a small enclosed space like that, and like I said, what we call a kill box, there's no telling. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that up to investigators and professionals to do that. But in a confined space like that, I don't care what anybody says. It's virtually impossible to tell what direction it's going.
When you look across the street now.
All right, you're just listening in there to these eyewitnesses talking about it, even dictating what the question was when the shot rang out. He was asked about shooters, about political violence in the recent weeks and months. And also, this is coincidentally the day is jury selection wrapping up in the Ryan Ruth trial, the second assassination attempt of the former president. And we're watching here on Live Now from Fox. Soon an update from the governor, Spencer Cox, to provide that in Utah, talking about the fatal shooting of this individual, Charlie Kirk, the conservative commentator. Let's be joined right now here on Live Now from Fox, law enforcement expert, friend of the program, David Katz. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now.
Well, you've been just listening to news coverage from our partners at Live Now as we are awaiting a press conference in Utah in regards to the shooting death of Charlie Kirk, a conservative leader of Turning Point USA. He was the co-founder and CEO. We'll have much more on this tragic day here coming up on your Fox 26 News at 5 o'clock. Right now, I'm Anthony Antoine. Thank you for watching Texas Live and Local.
Fox 26 News at 5 starts now.
Now at 5, conservative activist Charlie Kirk is dead after being shot at a speaking event in Utah. The suspect is still at large. And only on Fox, a family wants some answers after its beloved pet French bulldog dies while in the care of a pet sitter. Plus, a confrontation during a Texas A&M University class caught on video is reigniting the debate about academic freedom. We're breaking down the growing controversy. The school is now led to multiple firings. Fox 26 News at 5 starts right now. CEO and co-founder of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, is dead after being shot while speaking at an outdoor event in Utah today.
This is shocking so many people, especially because he's so young, 31 years old, a conservative commentator speaking at a Utah Valley University, and authorities are still looking for the shooter. Now, Kirk frequently traveled to college campuses, we know, speaking and taking questions from audience members in exchanges that often led to viral videos that you might have seen on social media. Well, Fox News correspondent Connor Hansen has more on today's tragic events.
I heard a loud bang.
After hearing a gunshot in the middle of campus, a crowd started running for safety. Witnesses described seeing the speaker, Charlie Kirk, being struck in the neck area and falling from his chair.
I just saw it hit him in the chest, and then all of a sudden just tons of blood gushing right out where his heart is. And then he fell over and slumped down, and everybody got down and was screaming.
A spokesperson from Utah Valley University says the shot was fired from a building about 200 yards away and that the campus closed for the rest of the day. Former Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz was at the event and witnessed the shooting.
As soon as that shot went out, he fell back into his left, and everybody hit the deck.
Charlie Kirk became a highly influential conservative activist and influencer after starting Turning Point USA. The group has a presence at thousands of universities and high schools and regularly holds campus events. Kirk is credited for helping President Trump win over young voters and win back the White House. Support for Kirk after the shooting has been bipartisan.
I mean, it's just another horrible act of political violence that has no place in our country.
And we are now hearing from local Republicans after the death of Charlie Kirk.
Fox 26 anchor Anthony Antoine is live in the newsroom with some more on this developing situation. Anthony.
Yeah, Carolina and Rashi, local Republicans are pouring in after the death of Charlie Kirk. So here's State Senator Paul Betancourt and U.S. Congressman Dan Crenshaw.
I've had a chance to meet with him and talk to Charlie Kirk. Brilliant mind, incredible communicator. Probably would have been his Ronald Reagan for his generation. They would have called him the great communicator. So it's a big loss.
This is a guy with a 4-year-old, a 1-year-old, a family. I've known him since 2019. Yeah, you can hate his opinions. You can hate how he goes out and the tactics, the rhetorical tactics he uses, but to engage in violence, he's never done that. He's never advocated for any of that.
And Charlie Kirk is credited with generating a lot of the youth vote that helped get President Donald Trump elected. The president was first to announce Kirk's death on Truth Social, saying, quote, "No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me. And now he is no longer with us," end quote. And President Trump has ordered flags to be lowered to have staff in Charlie's memory. And we'll have much more on this breaking news coming up at 5:30. And we'll be joined by a former Secret Service agent to get his take on today's tragic events. Caroline?
Anthony, thank you for that update. Meantime here, we are turning now to some local coverage. A Houston family is searching for some answers after finding out that during their family cruise that they took, their French bulldog died in the care of their dog sitter.
They matched their pet on Rover, which is a popular pet sitting and dog walking app. Fox 26's Jonathan Mejia spoke with the family.
The George family is simply wanting to know what happened to their French bulldog, Melodramatic. Medical reports indicate he died from a heat stroke, and the sitter hasn't provided any details of what may have caused the dog's death.
Because I gave her a dog.
which was ours. It was our dog. And for her to give me my dog back in this condition, it was like, what did you do?
That's the lingering question for the George family. They have 3 dogs and 1 cat, and now their furry family is incomplete with the death of their French bulldog, Melodramatic.
I'd like to know, what happened prior to him passing or her finding him. What condition was he in? Was he outside for too long? Just the truth, to give me some kind of closure.
According to a medical report, Melodramatic could have died from a heat stroke, and his owner, Georgette, says the sitter told her she had put Melodramatic in her backyard for about 30 minutes. Then the next morning, she found him dead.
She sends me a picture of my dog alive. I was like, that's insensitive, because my dog is dead. If I tell you, send me a picture, you told me he's dead. I said, send me a picture. You send me a picture of my dog in the backyard, but he's not in the backyard. He's dead.
In a statement sent to Fox 26, Rover says, quote, "We extend our heartfelt condolences to Melo's family during this tragic time. Upon learning of this incident, our 24/7 Trust and Safety team conducted a thorough investigation, and Rover has refunded the stay and offered to reimburse all related veterinary and aftercare costs through the Rover guarantee. The sitter involved is no longer providing services on our platform," end quote. Additionally, Rover sent Georgette $1,000.
The house is just so quiet, so you can feel, his presence is missed, because he would keep the house lively.
The sitter is no longer working with Rover, and Georgette is looking to have her day in court with the sitter. Reporting in the studio, Jonathan Mejia, Fox 26 News.
All right, turning to something much lighter, weather for the first half of this week has been fabulous.
It really has. So what does the second half look like? Our meteorologist Ramisha Shea joining us now live from the Weather Center.
Well, the second half of the week will definitely include more humidity, and we're going to add a few degrees to those temps. So plan on that late summer heat kind of making a comeback. But hasn't it been nice the last 3 mornings or so? Some of you